microphone's going to be looking right in the center camera. Good afternoon. It's Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. We're in the Africana Studies Center here at Berklee, both the College of Music and Boston Conservatory at Berklee. And we're so excited that in this second iteration of the Berklee Gospel Music Hall of Fame, we have three Hall of Famers here today. We have one who was the first Berklee Gospel Music Hall of Famer in the presence of Dr. Teresa Harrison Jackson. And then we are so excited. I mean, so excited to have these two distinguished men of God, phenomenal leaders, composers, producers, anything in the industry. And I'm not talking about just gospel music industry. I'm talking about the industry writ large. Anything that can be done within the industry, these two gentlemen have done it and done it well. We're talking about Black excellence here. We have in the presence of Bishop Hezekiah Walker and the Reverend Dr. Milton Bigham. God bless you all. Thank you all for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we're excited for you all.
I'm truly excited. This is like a dream come true for me, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, welcome to Boston. Welcome to Berklee. And for the time that you were here, as they say, mi casa es su casa. You know, we want to have a conversation today. Since we're at an institution of higher learning, both of you are also educators. We want to have a conversation about your mentors. And then from the standpoint of what you've learned from those mentors, how have you taken that information and translated that information into your practice, into how you function, how you do, whether it's ministry, whether it's music, whether it's leadership, whether it's life? And then who are you excited about in this season? Those are the three kind of themes that we'll take. And because we have the hostess with the mostest to my left, and she know how to spice it up and jazz it up and gospel it up and all that kind of stuff, we're just going to have a conversation like we're at the back porch of one of them old churches back in the country, right? When the outhouse is way back beyond the cemetery. Y'all know what I'm talking about? We're sitting there and we go have some fried fish, you know, some greens. Okay. And
Potato salad.
Potato salad. Right? Cooked the right way, right? And a little watermelon just for
All
right.
That's where we are. That's where we are.
Right.
So talk to us. And I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Harrison Jackson, because you have been mentored by some of the phenomenal legends of life. Talk to us about a couple of your mentors.
Well, I have to say, first of all, that I'm honored to be here, honored to be inducted into the Berklee Hall of Fame. And the work that you have done and are doing to expand gospel music in higher education, you are a pioneer, a trailblazer. And what you're doing here at the prestigious Berklee College of Music will speak to generation after generation after generation about the importance of gospel music. So thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the entire gospel music industry.
I appreciate that.
Yes. These guys, oh my goodness. Wow. First of all, when it comes to mentors, Reverend Dr. Milton Bigham is one of my mentors.
Wow.
He, I met him, and I don't even really realize we were sitting around, you know, relationships are important. I met him through a relationship that I had. I was serving at a church, and, you know, the whole thing is when you serve, God, you know, does something with your service. I was serving at a church, and the one of the young ministers there was a friend of Dr. Bigham. He was playing drums for several sessions that Savoy Records had, and he says, "You know, I want you to meet Milton Bigham." And I said, "Oh my goodness!" And so the story is that Milton came to visit the family on Thanksgiving. We're sitting there after Thanksgiving dinner. And they go down to the basement and say, there's a piano there. Milton says, "Teresa, I understand you write songs." I said, yeah, I write, you know. And I was a little nervous. And he says, "Well, come on, play a couple of your songs for me." And I said, I don't even know how I had the nerve to do it. And I sat down at the piano, started playing and singing the songs. And he kept, you know, I played a couple. And he says, "Wait a minute, go back to that one." Which one? And he told me. I went to that one. He says, "Well, you know, I like that song. Listen, tomorrow I'm going to be in New York. It's in the studio with Albertina Walker." do you think you would like to come and show her that song, if she wants to record it? Well, after I got off the floor, I went to New York and went in the studio, and the musicians picked the song up, and she said, "Come on, gal, let's do it." And that was the beginning of my apprenticeship under Dr. Bigham. And then he hired me full time to work at Savoy Records in New York City as the national director of promotions, where I was able to promote Mississippi Mass and Georgia Mass and all the masses and all that. But he is such a generous person and sees talent, and not only sees it, but grabs it and puts it on platforms, which is what he did for Kirk Franklin.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't know that Kirk was running around with DFW, which is Dallas Fort Worth Mass Choir, and he's writing songs and all this. And Milton said, "Oh, him," and discovered the talent, put him on a platform with Gospel Music Workshop of America. He went from there to Georgia Mass and on and on and on. And the Kirk Franklin we know today has been mentored and shaped by this man.
Wow.
So I say all of that. And then this guy, he has shaped so many, and he's been such a force in this. When I saw his for the first time, I was at a church in New York City, and I was serving as minister of music there, and they invited him in the choir. Well, I thought 20 or 30 people. I think he brought all of Brooklyn. I don't want nobody home in Brooklyn.
I'm sure of
We're
that.
in Manhattan, and like 80, 100, all these people come in, but they were so on point and so exciting, and it was just such an experience. And I didn't get to meet him that night because they come sing in New York and they leave. So he marched all 80 of them out. But I met him some years later because he just kept escalating, and I heard more and more about him. Well, by this time, I'm working in Nashville at Benson Records. And so I found my way to him, met him at a choir rehearsal, and said, "Listen, I'd like to sign you to Benson Records." And, and I can talk about him as a mentor to others, because from his platform at Benson, which, took him national and international, then he went and got others and pulled them in. Now he has a label, a church in two churches.
Yes.
He's an author. He's all, and we'll talk about the whole next escalation, but amazing. So thank you all for being a part of my life and let me be a part of yours.
Amazing. Amazing. Doc?
I am appreciative also for this opportunity. I never thought I would be in this place, in this space
Yeah.
with these people. And I'm grateful. I'm honored and humbled at the occasion. For me, I grew up in the James Cleveland era, the king of the choirs, and met James at Savoy Records, produced him, and he was just gospel and everything I wanted to be. So I latched on to every trick, everything he did. And as he was king of the choirs, I took on recording mass choirs. And I've used that even today with choirs. I get so much joy out of directing, dealing with the choir music. And I'm so happy to see, and I'm praying that choir will come back to the choir stand, because I think it's so needed. It just does something to the worship experience, and I'm fighting for that to happen. So this James Cleveland thing has never left, and I hope it doesn't.
All right. Bishop, mentors.
Wow. Sitting here listening to Milton Bigham, this is an amazing time, to be here with you. I consider you a legend as well. I didn't grow up in the James. I wasn't with James Cleveland at the time, but I was a young boy watching him and watching.
And that's right.
And
I used
watching.
to come to sessions.
I used to come to the
Be in the back,
sessions,
I would
be
see
in the
you.
back. and just sitting there listening and watching and trying to observe, trying to, pull some things into my head, to my mind, into my heart, because I wanted to be them.
Yeah.
And it took Dr. Harrison, who saw the talent, and she found me. She found me, and she signed me to a major label, and from there it just exploded.
Yeah.
So I am really truly grateful. So as far as mentorship, I have to give respect to the late Bishop Kenneth H. Moles.
Mm.
I met Bishop Kenneth H. Moles, and little did I know that he would bring me to the Thomas A. Dorsey Convention.
Mm.
And so when I got to Thomas A. Dorsey Convention, I never seen anything like that, other than when I went to the workshop.
Yeah.
And so I get there and I'm like, wow, I'll never forget. I was telling some people last night how Bishop gave me a robe and said, okay, put this robe on, you're gonna be in the choir. I said, I'm gonna be in the choir. He's like, yeah. I said, it's my first time. He said, get in the choir. Got in the choir, went into some sessions about directing, and I always could direct. And so they gave me a song, throughout that week to direct. And I directed that song that night, and the song was really good. I never forget, the name was Rodney Posey.
Oh yeah,
Rodney
Rodney
Posey.
Posey. Oh yeah.
He wrote the song and I directed. I just met him that week. And matter of fact, that same week I had just met Donald Lawrence as well.
Wow.
Because he's part of the Dorsey. And I met Donald, I met Rodney. Rodney said, I want you to direct the song. I directed the song. And that night I won Director of the Year.
Oh, your first time at
My
the conference?
first time.
Wow.
First time at the Dorsey. When I was like, wow. And from there, my directing and, the music just kind of took off from there.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that mentorship that he gave me, from bringing me to the Dorsey and showing me gospel music and exposed me to something else other than what I saw back home in Brooklyn. Because all I did was went to my church.
Yeah.
All I knew was the songs that came out of my church. And, we didn't go outside of our church. We stayed within our house.
Right.
So when Bishop exposed me to that, I was like, wow. I was like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and here I am.
Wow. We need to do another round of this. We're going to do another round. I want to hear about another mentor and that influence upon you and how you have actualized what you learned from that. We're going to start with you.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Well, I will say, some mentors you get a chance to touch, some you just look at from afar.
That's correct.
Some that I looked at from afar, one was, of course, Reverend James Cleveland,
Yes.
because when I would go to the workshop, I had never seen, I was like, oh, I died and gone to heaven. It was the music and the musicianship and the talent. It was amazing. And then I saw this woman who was regal and beautiful, and she was she was a singer, a songwriter, and I said, I want to be her. Her name was Dr. Margaret Dureau.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
And she wrote amazing songs. And the way she taught and directed the choir, then she would stop them and say, that's not right. And, and I picked up all that and just said,
All of
the way that she, the way that she would demand excellence, that, everything had to be right. I loved that.
She would preach the song that while she taught.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
She, and you all experienced her. She
Yeah.
was an experience.
Oh, yeah.
She's still alive, and
She
we
is.
salute her.
Yeah.
But I saw so many, and back then we didn't see too many women who were in leadership and who were, allowed to have those spaces and places. And so to see James Cleveland, kind of acknowledge her and really salute her. It was amazing. So I will say Dr. Margaret Dureau was
right.
another one.
Doc, number 2.
Albertina Walker
All right.
Yes.
of the Caravans, the Queen.
Yeah.
Met Albertina, obviously Savoy Records recorded her, and the uniqueness of this woman, who was such a giant in my eyes, but so down to earth, collard greens, rice, no put on. And when she hit the floor, it was something. I don't know what it was. The anointing that God placed in her voice alone, and we became so close, so close. She took me through some rough times. Me being young in the gospel industry, she encouraged me, and I was happy to be there for her many times. I there was an instance. I tell this. She recorded one of the biggest songs in gospel music history, I think. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me. He was written by our friend in New York, Sim Wilson.
Yes.
And the night of the recording session, she got hoarse. And John Hasten on piano played the intro. Pop, 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 da da, bum, da 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 da, bum, da 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 da. Tina couldn't do it. They did the intro 3 times. She couldn't sing it. After the session, James was on another cloud. James came to me and said, Milton, don't put this out. What could I say? I listened. He said, and I don't want to be associated with this at all. Fortunately, I learned about overdubbing. And I took Tina to the studio, and she overdubbed the intros. She sang before James did. And then I edited. I was all learning, but and that made us even closer.
Wow.
because it became her song.
Right.
It became her song, and unfortunately, James never sang it publicly. But it was supposed to be his song. But God worked it out in His own way, and I love her today.
Wow. Powerful. Okay. Bishop number 2.
I have to say the Reverend Milton Brunson.
Yes.
Me watching him and the way he had control over that choir, and they were just so professional to me. And I couldn't wait till every record come out. Like I just knew that there was going to be 3 to 4 different hits.
Yeah.
So I took, that mindset that my choir is going to be professional, and that everything we do, we're going to do it, and it's going to be right. The sound. I went to one of his recordings, and I realized how, because the sound was just so amazing to me, and I just wanted to see it. And they used to record in a little small church, the acoustics was amazing. And just to see them with them robes, and just to see the professionalism and how he had that choir so together, and how everyone gravitated to that sound and gravitated to that look. That was one of the things that really caught my attention, along with all of the other choirs that I grew up around in New York City, like, your Bishop Albert Jameson, the Tri-Girl Dance Choir, the Institutional Radio Choir,
Carl Williams.
Yes. And Benny Cummins,
man.
And then also my church at the time was a recording choir, the Bible Way, the Bible Way Church Choir. And so like those, but outside of where I grew up, Milton Brunson, I had my eye on that man. And I think I mimicked it to, a good place.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. And speaking of nailing it, all 3 of you are trailblazers in so many different veins, and in so many different, areas of not just industry, in terms of leadership, in terms of composition, in terms of production, in terms of having an eye for talent, in terms of maturing and helping talent flourish. So what would you articulate as your legacy? I'm gonna keep talking so you have a moment to think about it. What would you articulate as your legacy? Because clearly Berklee has seen something in you and your dynamic contribution to the world of gospel music. Clearly, we see your body of work. We see your phenomenal character. We see, all the things that were difficult to perhaps aspire to accomplish, and yet you've achieved them and moved further and further and further and further, to the point that we're still watching the three of you. We're still looking towards you to understand the importance of sound and the importance of discipline and the importance of dynamics and the importance of that theological approach to music. The understanding of what does it mean to lead a body of people in a way that, theologically, that we display Christ and lead folks to them without our egos getting in the way and without, our flesh getting in the way. I know I'm talking like a pastor, so please forgive me at an academic institution. But the point is that we see all of those things in you. How would you articulate your legacy?
I,
God, come on, Doc.
I'd like to see,
flinched.
you said the magic word. I'm praying and hoping that gospel music does not lose the Christ connection in this day.
Yeah.
When there are so many forces that's pulling gospel, I would say, not only the church, but from Christ. They're just, the young people who are coming up today, there's so many offers, so much money. You can do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the Christ connection, I love it all. I love all of it. Contemporary, traditional. I'm a traditional person, but I don't knock contemporary. But there's a point, I think, that it's got to be about Jesus Christ. The first verse.
Okay.
The subject is Jesus.
Okay.
The chorus, Jesus.
Okay.
It's got to be about Jesus, and we've got to drive that home. We can't get carried away with pronouns. At the name of Jesus, every knee must bow. We got to call his name. And in this world that we live in now, it's about pronouns. He loves me. Well, what's wrong with Jesus loves me? We got to promote it. And so I'm hoping and praying that I have done something that would point to the cross. Not to me, not to the artist, but to the cross. Because he said, if I be lifted up, he would draw all men. And we've got to protect that. And I'm hoping that the new artists will do that.
All right.
Bishop, you want to go there?
Reverend, as you was talking, I first, let me just say I concur with you. I think it's so important that we, portray Jesus in everything that we do, in our music, in our walk, in our integrity, and that's so important. Down through the years, I have met so many great gospel artists who have more than one talent. They don't just play, they don't just sing, they don't just write, but they are filled with multiple talents.
Right.
And so I think for me, I've moved into another area where I want to leave a legacy of the music that I have put down through the years and to display Jesus in a more excellent way. But I also have so many other gifts that it's inside of me that I wanted to put on display. And one of the things that I hold dear to my heart, where the text says in Genesis to go and subdue. And so that's what has been my mission, like for the last 10 years. Even when I got here to Berklee and seen all of the property and seen all of the things that, this school have done, I think that should be this next step to all of us who are in gospel music to leave a legacy like Berklee.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
but before we do that, we have to have some property.
That's right.
Mhm.
You know,
That's right.
and so that's what I've been kind of going after, leaving something for the community,
Wow.
not just my music, but
Mm.
leaving something for the community to say, listen, this was done by that gospel guy,
Yeah.
Hezekiah Walker.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I want to come back to that thing that you're working on.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
really feel like we need to share that
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely.
Let me say that I would probably couch the piece of what do I leave? I would say in the words, a heritage of worship
Mhm.
and a heritage of education.
Mhm.
Um, the music, I think, is important. I think that we all go through, phases, and our industry goes through phases where this sound and that sound. But the heritage of worship is a lifestyle. It is in our appreciation of what the talent is that God put us in us, and giving that back to the world
Mhm.
the way He gave it to us to give.
Mhm.
So that means that whether it's contemporary, traditional, or whatever it is, as long as it's pointing back to Christ,
Yes.
as long as our lifestyles exemplify Christ,
Mhm.
then we are leaving a heritage for generations with the S. I think that's important. For me, it's been through books, music, conferences, mentoring, all of those ways. And I've tried, as you said, Bishop, to use every gift and use me up.
Mhm.
God, you get the glory, just use me up, without my name having to be in the lights. So I think our industry is, I hear people say we got to keep gospel alive. No, we don't. Jesus will do that.
Or
All we
just
got to do
lift
is
them
point.
up.
There you go. Just lift him up,
Mhm.
and he'll keep it alive. That's not our job.
Mhm.
And for thousands of years, he's kept it alive. So,
Mhm.
he ain't going to fail us now. We just got to not fail him.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
I kind of feel that, and maybe I'll just throw this out here. I don't think Jesus, God, needs anything from the world to win the world.
Hmm.
We don't have to be like the world.
No.
We are called out.
Mhm.
We are peculiar. We are different.
Hmm.
And when I look at some artists,
Hmm.
there's a desire to be
Mhm.
like the world,
Mhm.
to fit in
Mhm.
Yeah.
with the world. And I don't know if that's, I'll just put it on the table.
Well, I think that goes back to what Dr. T was saying. She spoke about education.
Yeah.
I think what's happening now, I think that we have to be educated in the word.
Hmm.
I think we sing about it, but we don't know it.
Yeah, yep.
And Jesus said that my people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge.
Hmm.
So I think the education piece
Yeah.
is not just secular, but spiritually. I
Yes.
think that is so important in this time. You'll be surprised at the gospel artists that don't know
Don't-
scripture.
yeah.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
And I think that what we do, I mean, you all are pastors. So you understand that people need to understand how to apply the word. They need to first understand what the word means.
Mhm.
It's not written in our language. So then we translate it, and people have all kinds of understandings. And many times now they're getting their understanding off of internet,
Mhm.
social
Yeah,
media.
yeah.
Yes.
And some of our artists are doing the same things
Mhm.
because they're busy doing the industry of gospel and not the
The
ministry
ministry.
of gospel.
Yes.
What is it that, and they have become brainwashed and really deluded to think that if they're successful in the industry,
Yes.
Right.
That's
that
the problem.
that's more
Yeah.
more important,
Yeah.
That's the problem.
and that will be more meaningful to their lifestyles.
Yeah.
But
And programs start taking the place of sitting under teaching.
Okay.
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
No pastor.
Okay.
but see, there's no controls and there's no voices that are saying this is what
Right.
qualifies you. Back you talk about going to Dorsey convention. Dorsey used to require a letter of good standing
Yes.
In order to get,
Yes.
that's
in
right.
order to get on the platform.
That's
Mhm.
correct.
You
That's right.
couldn't be a part of that.
That's correct.
Someone
Without-
had to either bring you, or
Yeah.
you had to have that
That's
letter.
right.
Someone had to validate you to say, okay, yes, this is a good person, this is a good director, this is
They're a Christian.
a Christian. Exactly.
You know?
That's right.
Now we got people who don't
That's
know what
right.
they believe
That's
singing the
right.
gospel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
So if you haven't been there, how can you take me there?
yeah.
So there's so much now with the education, and it's good that we're at Berklee, because I think the heart of what this is and what it started to be, especially as Dr. Price is really setting the foundation for the next level.
Mhm.
I think it's important that we talk about, well, what is it that makes the culture of
Yeah.
gospel music
Yeah.
different?
Yeah.
We're the only genre that comes with a book.
But that's right. That's right.
And
That's right.
now we're trying to throw the book away and do the genre without.
Well,
It's
It's
true.
not going to work.
well, let's talk about this. We are live. It is May 2nd, 2024, in the Africana Studies Center here at Berklee, Berklee College of Music, Boston Conservatory at Berklee, with Dr. Teresa Harrison Jackson, with Bishop Hezekiah Walker, with Reverend Dr. Milton Bigham. Bishop, we alluded to an educational endeavor that you have been spearheading. Can you share a little bit about the impetus and what it is? And then I want to stay in this space of education,
Mhm.
because I think there's something relational about education, even though sometimes the outcome is perceived as transactional,
Mhm.
right? You register, you take a course, you get a grade, you move on to another course, you get a grade. After you accumulate enough grades and you graduate with a degree and you move on. But what happens in the classroom is relational.
Mhm.
As those who are mentoring, I'll use
Mhm.
that word rather than teaching, right, in this context, and those who are apprenticing, right, because we're talking about a cultural apparatus within an industry that was grounded and birthed from the Black church,
Mhm.
that was driven and guided by a book,
Mhm.
right? So what are you up to? What can you share?
Well, after so many years of doing gospel music, and all the awards that you win, all the Grammys, all the money that you make on the road, and all the money that you make, with your records, after a period of time, it become redundant.
Okay.
And you say to yourself, what else can I do to be effective in the community? And so the Lord placed on my heart, to build housing, buy some property, use the money that you have made on the road, and the monies that you made off your books and your CDs, and buy some property. And about maybe 15 years ago, I bought some property. And, of course, I'm not a builder, I'm not a developer either, but I knew what God told me to do. And I bought the property. So in my mind, that was for me to build my church.
Mhm.
And, the pandemic hit, and then everything just went crashing. And I waited all these many years and trying to figure out, like, Lord, you told me to do this, and I had this idea, but now, of course, you're going to have to bring the people to me. And little did I know, right after the pandemic, some developers came to me, and along with, the city of New York, came to me and asked me for the property.
Wow.
And so right now we broke ground. We're building affordable housing for 238 families.
Wow.
And so I'm really proud of that.
Wow.
And I think that's the area that I think all of us should move into, where one can build housing, and someone else can come and build a school,
Yeah.
and do stuff like that, because I think we have something to offer, and it goes beyond our musical talent.
That's right.
Mm.
But I think if we don't become educated, like Dr. T said, I think it's so important to become educated and to get the knowledge and to get the understanding. There's so much out there that we can connect to with our gift and with our talent to make a big imprint in the world through gospel music.
Yeah.
Man, I applaud you for that. That's huge. I
It
mean, one of the
is.
major
Yes.
crises in this nation is housing.
Housing.
Yes.
And one of the hidden secrets of this nation is that at the beginning of the founding, quote unquote, of this nation, those who were considered citizens were land owning men,
Mhm.
right? So there's
Mhm.
something inherent to living in the United States of America that is attached to the notion of real estate, attached
Mhm.
to the notion of property, attached to having a tent over your head or having shelter. So I applaud you, man. This
Thank you,
is
sir.
huge.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Huge. And one of the things that I had to fight for is because they wanted to take the land.
Of course.
And I refused to let them. I said, no, if we're going to be in partnership,
Yeah.
this land stays in my name. This
Mm.
land, this is mine. I will lease it to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
build,
Yeah.
build the housing. I will lease it to you.
Yeah.
But this is ours. And they fought me for it, but eventually they got up off of it, and it's ours,
Yeah.
and it's going to be there forever.
Wow.
And I think one of the things that you're saying that's important for everyone to hear is the fact that, you know, the dollars that you made and the money that you made
Yes.
through your industry, that
Mhm.
was the first gift.
Yes.
But now it's saving it and
Mhm.
investing it,
Yes.
not putting it on your back,
That's right.
not riding around in it.
That's right.
But you know,
I
because you're
got
real
you.
cute, but you got
I
some
got
other
you.
stuff too.
I got you.
You know,
right.
and that's the thing, you know, because now we don't save our money.
That's right.
And we
That's
want to,
right.
you know, so that's
Yeah.
very, very important.
Very
What are you leaving?
Yeah.
What are you building toward that's going to be a blessing to others?
And I think also too, it comes back again to the education piece of it.
Mhm.
Like someone had to sit me down and educate me
Yes.
on how to save
Mhm.
and not just look like an artist.
Yes. How
You
about
know,
that? Yeah.
but to really be an artist in every area of my life.
Yeah.
And I think some of the artists, they have to understand that, you know, after we buy all that stuff to be on the Stella
The
Awards
Gucci's and the
and the
Louis
Gucci's
all
and the
that.
Louis, and after that, you have to have somewhere to live,
Yes.
and you have to have
And you
insurance.
better own something.
You better own something.
Mhm.
And I think if we would all just sit down, and somebody got to step up and do it.
Yeah.
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 And I think, you know, how our culture is, you know, one person do it, we gonna follow.
Well, what we're doing now, and to your point, my husband Don Jackson and I have invited artists, producers, creatives, educators around the gospel industry, in and around it, to a meeting that is coming up in a few days, May 18th in Atlanta. And we're going to be talking about how we can come together and be educated and talk about how we can use all of these tools, from digital to AI to the traditional, and the relationships that we have to build together things that really, you know, we've never done before.
Mhm.
There are things like your housing that we need to know, oh, this is possible, because if Hezekiah did it,
Mhm.
then we need to be looking at how can we build housing, because the poorest, the sickest, the most in need of medical attention, all of that, those are the people that we minister to on a weekly
That's
basis.
correct.
Weekly basis.
That's correct.
And our culture is known for, Lord, help me to hold out, Lord,
Mhm.
I need another, you know,
Until, right?
okay.
Until.
And our until is here.
Mhm.
It's in our hands. So, you know, we're not a poor people.
Mhm.
So we need to, you know, step up to what God called us to do and be the head, not the tail. All that.
Well, I'm so impressed, even by this conversation and meeting you. Um, I think this school, with the with who you are, and all you've done, can be the impetus for a lot of this stuff to happen through. So I'm lending myself whatever I can do, whatever you see. I'm like Teresa. I just want to give myself away
Mm.
to help.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's good.
I appreciate that. And it's meaningful for us to celebrate and honor you all, because we have been watching, right? We do have mentors who we have up close and have intimate relationships with, but we also do have mentors who we've been watching, who have been toiling in the field, and who have been, you know, every season flipping that ground over for the next crop to come, right?
Mm.
And you know, for you to say that, it means the world to me, because all three of you have been mentors to me. And you know, just recently, you know, Dr. Harrison Jackson, we've been able to, over the last couple of years, you know, build a nice bond. And then, you know, just meeting the two of you. But I'm grateful to all the things that you all have not been afraid to do, right? And that you've been courageous enough and faithful enough and resilient enough to endure the challenges, to keep putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward, and doing it in a way of loving people in real time, so that it's not about me, my, I, but it's about we. right? And I think that that's what we're building. We're excited for the coalition meeting down in Atlanta. We're excited for all the things that you all are doing, and we want to partner and watch. Our students want to partner and watch and learn, so we're building an internship program here through gospel music, right?
Wow.
So we're not only performing, we're not only teaching courses on history and culture and industry and artistry, but we're also making sure that our students get plugged in while they're in the mind frame of learning. Because something happens when you walk across the stage and graduate. You kind of think that you learn everything you need to learn, and now it's time to go do. So we want to create internships while they're in the headspace and the mind space of learning, and we want them to select students, of course, vetted and making sure they're the right students. But we want to put them in front of you all so they can learn the same way that y'all learn,
Yes.
And so whether it's the Dorsey Convention, the GMWA, whether it's the Hampton Ministers Conference, whether it's Stellar Awards, whether it's the Black Music Honors, whether all the phenomenal things you're doing are all around the world, whether it's in the Holy Land, all the things that you are doing with a catalog of 500 plus compositions.
Wow.
I mean, we can learn so much from each other.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm grateful to you all for paving the way and leaving a little breadcrumb along the way so we can follow you when you make that quick turn. Right. We can follow you because that little piece of bread is right there. We know you went it that way. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. What are you most excited about in this season? It's 2024. We've passed Y2K and the world didn't disappear. We survived COVID. We surviving COVID, right? We survived, some political mumbo jumbo. We survived some international mumbo jumbo, right? We're still here. That book that you were talking about is still here. These churches, right, that birthed us are still here. So what are y'all excited about in 2024? Who are you watching? What are you looking at? What you doing?
Teresa Harrison called me some months ago and said, Milton, you know so much about the gospel music, and you've done it all, but you need to put it in the book.
All right. Yeah.
And I said, oh. She called me back again, Milton, about 3 or 4 times.
Yes, at least.
And I am so excited that she kept calling. And as of this moment, we're working on
Oh, that's
a
good.
publication
Awesome.
that she's going to do for me.
Awesome.
And I cannot wait.
Awesome.
And I called a couple of people who are friends of hers and they said, yes,
Awesome.
she's the one. She's so gifted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I'm excited about what's going to happen in the next few months. And hopefully when I come back again,
Yes.
I'll have my book.
All right.
That's right.
All right.
All right.
I love it.
Bishop.
Bishop, what you excited about?
I'm really excited, of course, about the housing project, but I'm also excited about, I've been at the table with a few new movie producers that want to do the Hezekiah Walker story.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing.
And so we're almost to the ending point of it. We're just waiting on this last producer, who I can't release the name as of yet, to come on board. But we actually lived on the same street. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
And the craziest thing is I never got a chance to meet him. I went to school. His sister was in my 4th and 5th grade class.
Wow.
And so after down through the years, we never met. And so he realized that I was the same kid that lived on the block.
Wow.
After a certain amount of years. And so we connected, and we getting ready to do that. So I'm excited about that. So you'll probably be hearing the Hezekiah Walker story
That is awesome.
on the big screen.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well earned, well deserved, and
I
I can't
know
wait.
that's right.
I can't wait. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Awesome.
Tell the truth.
I will.
I am excited. For probably nobody doesn't know, but I've recently been married,
That's right.
and being over 40.
Yeah.
Stop laughing.
Tell the truth.
Actually, right.
Right. Tell the truth.
Over 60. Then. Okay, it's a different life. I'm so grateful to God for this season of my life and for being married to a man who, has a vision and created the Stellar Awards almost 40 years ago. And is not selfish or hoarding it to himself, but is allowing me to be a part of it. So I'll be the producer for the pre-show at the
Yeah.
Stellar.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
Announcement.
Yeah.
And also, there's some other things in the works that we're working on, big picture things, movies, and it's time for us to expand. And they say that most people die without having used more than 10% of their brains. And I want, as I said, I want to just give myself away and use all of me. And when I leave this planet and go to the next iteration, I want God to say, "Well done."
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to be blessed and generations to be enriched and empowered.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about this season because a few years ago, and I'll say this and I'll stop. I didn't see this,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you think that it's over, but the Bible tells us that there's a time for everything under the sun, and just because one door closes doesn't mean that there's not a new door for you to go through. So I thank God that this new door is opening in my life.
Awesome, awesome. We're excited for you and want to give a big shout out to Mr. Don Jackson. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support for all that we're doing and your encouragement for all we're doing here as well. Let's go around one final blessing, thought, offering to the viewers who are watching, to the folks who will pull this video from the archive years and years and years from now, just to see what the three of y'all were thinking, what y'all were hoping for, what y'all were talking about. Just one final blessing of thought as we conclude.
To all the young people who are coming this way, who are looking at us, looking at me, I want to put this out to you. I've said it before. If what you do for Christ, if it does not bring honor to Christ, then Christ is not concerned about what you do. I know that might be a little harsh, but hopefully it'll sink in.
All right. All right. Bishop.
I want to say to everyone that's listening that there is nothing, absolutely nothing that's impossible. You can do all things through Christ who gives you the strength. And always remember that little becomes much when you place it in the master's hands.
All right now.
And I guess I echo that and say that it's never too late. And don't limit yourself, because God, we serve an unlimited God. And the sky is the limit, and even beyond what you see is the limit. So don't allow what other people to say to you to limit you. Your past does not dictate your future.
Reverend Dr. Milton Bigham, thank you and congratulations on your induction in the Berklee Gospel Music Hall of Fame.
I'm
Bishop,
so pleased and so honored.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Bishop Hezekiah Walker, congratulations and
Thank you,
thank you for your
Thank
presence.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations on being inducted into the Berklee Gospel Music Hall of Fame. And Dr. Teresa Harrison Jackson, one of the co-architects of what we're doing here, thank you so much for your trust. And thank you for believing in the vision that we have here, for supporting it, for encouraging it, for investing in it, for doing all the phenomenal things that you have and are and will continue to do. I'm saying it in hope that you will continue to stand with us. But
Yes.
congratulations. Thank you for being here, and congratulations for being the first inductee into the Berklee Gospel Music Hall of Fame. Thank you all for watching. It's wonderful to be with you. Peace.